Hi and welcome to this tutorial. I'm going to show you how to use the social review widget with the plus add-ons for Elementor. With this widget, you'll be able to insert Facebook and Google reviews, Facebook and Google badges, and review walls on your website. I'm Dave and I'm bringing you this guest tutorial on behalf of the plus add-ons for Elementor. And make sure to subscribe to the channel so that way you won't miss out on a single update. Okay, so let's dive right into it. So the very first step is to make sure that our widget is activated, and for this we're going to go to the plus settings, plus widget. In the search box type in social, and next to our social review widget here, make sure this toggle switch is turned on. Click save. Next we're going to go into performance and we're going to clear the cache, so purge all cache. Click OK, and that's it. And now that our widget is activated, we can insert it on an Elementor page. So you can go into the search box and type in social, and you can locate our social reviews right here. So this is where it is. And now we can drag and drop it onto our page. And with our social reviews widget, we can insert three types of reviews. We can insert Facebook reviews, Google reviews, and also manual. So manual, basically, this is when you want to insert reviews manually without having to connect using an API. So this is another option available. So if we select Facebook again as our source, as you can see, we're getting an error message here. And the reason is because we need to generate an access token, and it's the exact same with Google. As you can see, we are also getting an error message. And the reason is because we need to connect to the API and create some credentials. Okay, so first let's start with Facebook. And with Facebook, the only thing you have to do basically is simply to click on Generate Access Token. So let's click on this, select an account, and here you have to, and then from here, accept all cookies, and then type in your social media credentials, click Login, and then type in your login details right here and click Login. And then after this, just continue as your name, as yourself. And from here, select one single page from which you'd like to display the reviews. So again, just to make sure, you can only select one page because you can only display the reviews of one page at a time. And now click Next, and then Done. Perfect. Now click OK. And just like that, your access token has been added to your Elementor page. And now we have all these reviews displaying on our screen. Now, just to mention, if when you click on this button here, Generate Access Token, if it does nothing, if you have a window popping up like this and then closing down immediately, just like that, it means that you have to go into your web browser settings and allow pop-ups. Now let's take care of the Google credentials. So let me show you how you can create a token. So basically click on this link here. And from here, you're going to go into library and you're going to search for places, just like this. And we're going to select the places API, the very first one here. So click on this. And what we're going to do now is to enable it basically. So click on enable. Okay, very good. And now we are going to select an additional one, which is Maps JavaScript API. And again, we're going to enable it. Perfect. And now that we have our two APIs enabled, we are going to create our credentials. So click on Credentials here by the side. Again, in the top menu here, click on the plus Create Credentials. And we're going to create an API key. So click on this. And this is our API key. So all we have to do basically is to copy it and then go back to our page and paste it right here when it says access token. So Control V. And now we are presented with a different error message, which is error number 200. And as you can see from the description, it says missing the place ID or reference parameter. So now we have to create a place ID. So let me show you how to do this. So now we're going to click on this link here, place ID. And then from here, enter a location. So for instance, McDonald, New York, and select the one that's relevant to you. And as you can see here, we have our place ID right in this section. So highlight this, right click on it, copy, and then paste it here. And now, as you can see, we have Google reviews displaying on our page. And for both Facebook and Google, you can define what's the max result you want to display. Now, bear in mind that initially there is a restriction with the Google API and it will only display 5 reviews. So 5 reviews, even if you selected more, like we have here, we selected 8, but it will only display 5. And this is a Google API rule. And therefore, we've designed a solution for this, which means that over time, it will increase gradually to reach whatever amount you've entered here. And it's the same with Facebook. You can define how many you want to display. And with Facebook, there are no restrictions like with Google. And then you can put a category name here as well. So let's call this one maybe Facebook. And this is basically to help you to filter the content afterwards. So I'm going to show you how to do this. So let's call this one Facebook. And let's do the same with Google. And we're going to call it Google. Now let me show you what this is for. So if we scroll down here, we have filter option. Open this. And you can see we have the category wise filter. So we can enable this now. And now you can see on top of our reviews, we have those 3 tabs. So one is called All, one is Facebook, and one is Google. As you can see now, if you click on any of them, it will show respectively only Facebook reviews or only Google reviews or all of them at once. And just like with Facebook and Google, you can type your own text here. So maybe you want to change all to something else. So you can change it here. So maybe see all. And then you can select among different styles. So this is style 1. So we have style 2 as well, which is roughly the same as style 1, except that you have a number that indicates how many reviews are in this section. And then we have style 3. So this too indicates how many reviews are in this category. So maybe if you click on Facebook and Google, it will reveal as you hover on top. And then we have style 4. And this one will only reveal the categories when you hover on top, just like this. So let's go back to style 3 maybe. And then we have the filter hover style. So as you can see, style 1 is underlined, as you can see, and it will reveal how many are in this category. We have style 2. So style 2, we have a plain color background. And when we hover on top, we have a revolving effect, as you can see here. And then we have style 3. With style 3, we have expanding square brackets. And then we have style 4. And basically style 4, it's a slightly different animation, as you can see, which is filling up very slowly and very nicely. And then you can define if you want your menu to be on the left-hand side, right-hand side, or middle using this feature here. So that's everything about the filter option. So back to our content now for our reviews. We can also select among different styles. So we have style 1, we have style 2, and with style 2, you can select different layouts. So we have layout 1 and layout 2. And then we have style 3 as well. So there aren't much difference between those 3 styles. It's mainly how and where the different items are laid out. So for instance, with style 3, you have the content on top with the star and the social icon. And then you have the profile picture at the bottom with the name next to it. Whereas style 1 and style 2 is the other way around. You'll have the profile picture on top with the stars and then the content and social icon. And then you can select among different layouts. So we have grid like we have at the moment. So basically as a grid, the height of your row will be of the same height as your tallest item. So this one, for instance, as you can see, these ones are not as high. They don't have the same height, a bit smaller. But regardless, your row will be of the same height as your biggest item. And then we have masonry. So basically masonry, you don't have a row per se. So basically they'll follow each other in a staggered manner like this, as you can see, regardless of the height. So they're just following each other in different columns. And then we have carousel as well. So basically here they will display in one row and they will slide right to left, displaying each item one by one. So next we have review option. So as you can see here, negative review stars. So you can select 1, 2, 3, or 4. And we have a note here. It says in Facebook reviews, you can set values of stars you want to show for negative review you've got. So what does that mean? So let me show you here from the Elementor page, for instance. So we have this button here that says, do you recommend Elementor? So you can either say yes or no. So if you say yes, that will give you a 5-star review. And if you say no, you'll have a 0-star review. So this will make you look very bad if you have a no review. And if this is the case, you have the option to override this, so to speak, using this feature here. So basically you can turn your negative review into a positive review. And there's also an option to exclude some reviews. So if you enable this, as you can see, it will reveal some IDs right here. So let's say you wanted to remove this review and hide it all together. Then you can select this ID just like this and then paste it here. Control V. And just like that, it won't display on your page anymore. And then if I disable this feature again, as you can see, that review is back on our screen. Next, we can manage our columns. So we can configure this for desktop, tablet, and mobile devices. So by default, it's 4 columns for desktop, 3 for tablets, and 2 for mobile devices. Now you can change this around. Maybe you want less columns on a desktop PC, or maybe you want to display more, just like this. So let's leave it at 4 for now. And then you can do the same for tablets and mobile. And then you can change the spacing all around it. So basically all this gap all around these reviews. So it is set to 15, but you can reduce that if you wanted to, or make it bigger again. So we've covered the filter option already. So next is the load more and lazy load. So basically these are our 2 options, either load more or lazy load. So let's select load more for now. And as you can see at the moment, we are only displaying 8 posts. So these are the 8 posts. Then we can define, once I click on this button here, how many more do you want to load at a time? So we have 4, as you can see. So let's click on this. And as you can see, we'll reveal another set of 4 reviews. And then if we click again, we're going to see another 4. And then you can tweak the button, the loading, and the all post loaded text. So basically all these 3 sections here. Now let's have a look at the other effect. So we have lazy load. So basically the lazy load is about the same, except that this time it will load more posts, more reviews as we scroll down the page. So I'm going to scroll down, because you can see it says loading. So let's put this to the test. So let me scroll down now. As you can see, it says loading, and it's loading as we scroll down the page. And again, you can tweak what type of text you want to display. Next, we have our extra options. So basically here you can define your refresh time. So do you want to refresh your feed every week, every day, every 6 hours, every 2 hours, or every hour? So this is really up to you. And do you want to limit the size of your review or display the full review? So if you disable this, you will see we have the full review being displayed, but this might be a bit too long, maybe a bit too big. Maybe you just want to show the beginning, the start of the review. And if this is the case, do you want to limit this by character count or word count? So if it's word count, for instance, you can say maybe up to 12 words being displayed, or maybe up to 100 character like we had before. And you can change your text here, so show more. You can tweak this around as well if you wanted to. And then the display the dots. So those 3 dots here at the end of the sentence, you can see you can decide whether or not you want to display them. And then you have the content scrolling bar right here. And for this, I'm going to disable the text limit. Enable this. And as you can see, they can scroll up and down to read the rest of the content. In which case you can even define the height, the maximum height. So it's 100 at the moment. So maybe you want it to be a bit smaller or maybe a little bit bigger. And then we have the performance section here. So if this is enabled, this will drastically improve the performances and loading time of your page, because basically what this feature does is to save the content of your reviews directly into your database. So each and every time you enable this feature, you have to delete all transient, so basically all cached files. So click on this, and there you go. Now it will delete all the transient and take care of everything and recreate all your reviews in your database. So these are all the content options for the reviews. Now let's explore the badges, so Facebook badges. And again, here we have to create an access token just for that. So let's click on generate access token and then continue. And just like that, as you can see, we have access token created. And then with the Facebook badge, we have also a few options. So as you can see here with the postfix, which is the content here, would you recommend? And then the name of the page itself, and then prefix content. So this is the one here, you know, recommended by, and then we have people. So you could change this around maybe and change it around, maybe by 6 big fonts. So do you want to show the recommended or no? Enable or disable. And if you decide to show it, then would you like to show a single or multiple buttons? So at the moment is either yes or no, but maybe you want to make it easy for them to say yes and just show one button only. And then you can decide what your 2 buttons will say, either yes or no, or maybe something else. And again, with Facebook badge, you have extra options. So you can define your refresh time. So do you want to refresh once a week, every day, every 6 hours, 2 hours, or every hour? So let's go back to our reviews. And now let's have a look at all our styling options. Okay, so these are all our options. So as you can see, we have universal, and we also have Facebook and Google. So basically these 3 sections are exactly the same. They have the same settings, the same customization features. So basically the universal one, if you select this one, this will apply to both Facebook and Google, and it will override those 2 sections. Or you can have specific sets of customization for Facebook on its own or Google on its own, in which case you'll have to use this one or this one separately. For the sake of our tutorial here, we're going to use universal, so it will apply to both Facebook and Google reviews. So our first section here is all related to fonts. So basically you can change the font of all these different items here. So username, message, post, etc. So as you can see, they're all roughly the same now. So if you wanted to change, let's say the content here, this one here, maybe change it to a font that's a bit thinner. So this is the message. So let's click on this and we can select a different value here. So maybe we want it to be a bit thinner, just like this, and we can change the size of our font as well. So maybe it's a bit too big, so maybe you want to make it a bit smaller, maybe just about that size would be perfect. And then you can do the same with the posted on Facebook and the date as well. So maybe something like that. And then you can change the color of each and every item as well. So let me show you just with the username here. So all you have to do is select the color, and then as you can see, it will reflect immediately on our page. And then if we scroll down, we can change our box color, so the background. And then you can change the background color, so one color, maybe beige like this. Or you can have a gradient color. And with gradient, you can define the location of your first and second color. You can define if it's radial or maybe linear. And then you can change the angle as well. So you can go from one side or the other. And then we can also add a border if you want to change the color. So there's one at the moment is a thin gray color, but you can change this. So maybe we add a solid border, 1 pixel, we can change the color. So this time, let's make it maybe a brownish color like this, maybe. And you can change the border radius as well. As you can see, these are not sharp edges, they're slightly rounded, but if you set them to 0, you'll have sharp edges, and then you can increase the value. And the higher the value, the more rounded your edges will be. Now you can even add a box shadow, just like this. And then we have the top, bottom, and icon section here. So you can add a solid border as well, all around it if you wanted to. And you can do the same with the bottom part. And the same with your icon. Or you can simply change the background color, like this, for instance. And then we have a few more settings here. We have the user area. So from here, you can add margins and padding. So let's add a bit of padding, maybe. Let's add 15. As you can see, it will squeeze things within this section. And then in relation to your profile picture, do you want to overlay the image? So basically, if this is enabled, it will display on top of the rest of the section, the background. And then you can offset the position as well. So basically, you decide where you want to display it. And then you can override the profile radius. So at the moment it's 50 pixels because it's a perfectly rounded picture. So maybe if you put it at 0, as you can see with a square picture, or maybe you want to set it maybe to 10 or 12, and you have rounded edges now. Now, as you can see, this feature will only apply to Facebook reviews. And now the last 3 options here are basically to give a bit of breathing space to your header, content and footer section. So let me show you what it looks like from the header here. So let's add maybe a 15 pixels padding. So this is what this looks like. Next, we have our show more text. So this section here. And from here, you can change the font by using the typography here. You can change all the different settings. And you can change the color in normal and hover mode for the show more, show less, and even the dot here, the colors of those dots. So let's say if I wanted to show more to change color, if I hover on top, I click on this. And now I can select black, for instance. And now if I hover on top, as you can see, it will change color. Now let's scroll down a little bit and we're going to take care of our load more section here. So let's click on this. So as always, you can change your font. So maybe you want a different font, maybe Poppins. And maybe you want it to be thicker. Just like that. And maybe a little bit bigger as well. There you go. And maybe you want it to be a different color. So maybe we go with a red color like this. And when you hover on top of the button, you might want it to change color. So maybe let's make it black. So now, as you can see, we go from red to black. And maybe you want to tweak the border all around it. So you can enable this here. And you can select the type of border that you want. So maybe you want it to be dashed instead. And you want to increase this perhaps. You can do that easily with those features. And again, you can change the color as well. So let's make it red maybe, just like this. And in hover mode, it will be black. And as you can see, if I hover on top, the color changes. So next, let's scroll back up the page. We're going to take care of our filter category here. So from here, you can change your font. So maybe you want it to be slightly bigger. So maybe just about this size. So let's have a look at the other options here. So you can add padding and margin as usual. And then as always, we can change the color in normal and hover mode. So for the category filter, for the hover border and all that. And then we can even change those category count labels that are displaying here on top, as you can see. So we can change that color. So maybe you make it a bit different. So we have the font color itself. So maybe let's make it white. And we can change the background color. So let's make it maybe a purplish color like this. Why not? So let's have a look. And as you can see now, we have a different color. And then again, we have our 3 options here, which are the exact same as our universal here on top. So basically, you can select universal. It will apply to all of these features, or you can select them separately, Facebook, Google, and manual, and have different sets of customizations for each and every one of them. So let me show you quickly how this works. So let's do this with Facebook, and maybe instead of the colors we have at the moment, just for Facebook, we're going to put a bluish background and blue borders, the same as the logo colors here. So let's go down our background options here. So we're going to add a background color. So this is already a gradient color. So you will have to select a gradient color as well to change it, to override this. If you selected a single color, you'll select this one instead. But because we already have selected a gradient in the universal settings, we'll have to use the same here. So let's click on this. And as you can see, I have my primary color and secondary color. So now it is blue. And let's do the same with our border. So let's select a solid border, 1 pixel in thickness, and the color we're going to go with a darker blue, just like this. Perfect. So there you go. This is how you can implement the social reviews widget on your website, and you will agree that it does add a lot of interest to your web pages. If you have any questions, please post them in the comment section below. Again, my name is Dave, and it was a real pleasure to present this tutorial on behalf of the Plus add-ons for Elementor. And make sure to subscribe to the channel so that way you won't miss out when new videos are being uploaded. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.